Home Sweet Horror. Hello folks, welcome back to my channel. This is Goosebumps Homeboy 1992, back with another Goosebumps book review for Series 2000. As we near the end of the series, we're going to be looking at the 17th book from the series today, entitled The Werewolf in the Living Room. Ominous title, wouldn't you say? So, before I move on to the story itself, I'd like to say a few words about the front cover. So obviously, as its title suggests, it's taking place in a living room. You have a green couch, and you have a werewolf sitting there in a very slubbery kind of way, a very, informal, posture. And it's basically the werewolf is holding a remote control, a TV remote, right? And you can see that the saliva, the gobs of saliva pouring out of its opened jaws, opened mouth. And basically this werewolf is wearing a suit, but the suit is ripped in places, and you have its fur all over, growing all over the place, and some patches of red skin that are poking out, and its yellow eyes seem to be focusing on what is happening in front of it, in front of the TV screen. And his feet are up, right? And you can see these claws sticking out, right? Wow, that's a pretty nice ominous front cover, and it suggests an awesome story, right? Especially with this very catchy title, The Werewolf in the Living Room, in green. That seems to be reflecting the color of the couch. So this book is about this kid named Aaron Freitas, and his mother passed away, so he's living alone with his dad, and his father is the sheriff of the town. And believe it or not, one of the things he likes to do for a living is hunting down werewolves. So he takes his son to that remote place in Europe, in a country named Britvia, I believe, something like that. And they go there in an effort to catch a werewolf in action. But what happens is something kind of goes, wrong, so to speak. And well, they end up, with a little problem on their hands. And Aaron himself seems to be, seems to have doubts regarding it. Now, I don't want to spoil the book too much, but this story is divided into, excuse me, is divided into two parts, right? So there's the first part when they're out in the woods looking for the werewolf, and the second part when they go back home. And then as they go back home, some strange things are going to be happening in town that are going to suggest that a werewolf is, wreaking havoc in the town. Hence the title, The Werewolf in the Living Room. Now, yeah, that's basically it. And Aaron and his father are not gonna see eye to eye on everything in this book. So I think it's better for me if I end, it right here, since I don't want to be spoiling the book too much or anything. But yeah, The Werewolf in the Living Room. What did I think about it? Now, the Werewolf in the Living Room is not that great in my opinion. It's not that I don't want to make it sound like it is a good book for what it is, but the front cover suggested an awesome story about a werewolf in a living room. Basically, you would expect the werewolf to be living there, and basically, it could be a member of the family or something like that. But the story is completely different, and there are a lot of dream sequences in this story early on. They're the dream sequences that are, to me, it's just an overuse of them. And also that, yes, this the whole catching the werewolf thing was okay to a certain extent, but it kind of drags on, and the rest of the story is good, the second part, but it's lacking some action, in my opinion, and the title itself is not really part of the actual story, believe it or not. It's more like, yes, it's not exactly what I had in mind. So The Werewolf in the Living Room, despite this great title and this awesome front cover with that werewolf, is not entirely, all it's cracked up to be, for lack of better terms. I just imagine something. I had something totally different else, something else different in mind. Something else in mind. But yeah, it's you know, a little of a different kind of feel I had from reading the book. But it's not that, it's good for what it is, right? It's not a bad book by any stretch of the human imagination. That's not what I meant to say. All I'm hinting at is that I wish it was more like a different kind of story with a werewolf in a living room. That would be better, Even seeing that front cover kind of being in the story itself, you know, described in certain terms that I would have, really enjoyed. But yeah, I guess it's you don't always get what you have in mind, and that's the thing about those Goosebumps books. Sometimes you think a story is gonna be a certain way, but it turns out to be different, and it's not necessarily a bad thing at all. But yeah, I did enjoy the father as the sheriff. Aaron Freitas was an okay character. I didn't dislike him, but yeah. So this is the werewolf in the living room. So if I were to give it scale on a scale from 1 to 10, a rating, I would maybe give it a 7 out of 10. It's not bad at all, right? It's 7 out of 10 for me. It is a good story for what it is. It has a nice development. Maybe the first part is a little, I don't really know which part is better, to be honest with you, because the second part, there's a big twist, which makes it pretty good. But yeah, it's divided into two parts in case, you're wondering. Yes, there's the first part, the search for the werewolf, and the second part, when they're back home in the United States. But it's okay for what it is. It's not bad. It's just, you just have to go on with it and to go along with it. And it turns out to be pretty fun. So yeah, if I were to rate this book on a scale from 1 to 10, I already said it, but I'll say it again just to make sure I haven't omitted it from my review. 7 out of 10. And that's pretty much it for this review. So I guess, those are my final thoughts. If you're wondering whether you should read this book, definitely do so. It might not be the most exciting Goosebumps book, in the series or in Goosebumps as a whole, but it definitely delivers. It has a share of, scares and, chills and thrills and all that. But yeah, it's a good book. It's not the best Goosebumps book, and I definitely thought it was gonna be, better in a way, but it's not bad either. It's pretty fun, and I would say that if you like these kinds of stories with werewolves, these horror movies, like I forgot there's another horror movie about a werewolf, but all these old horror movies that are basically that feature a werewolf in it. If you like these stories, you'd probably like this one, but it's not as good as the previous Goosebumps books. Like for example, Werewolf Skin, The Werewolf in the Living Room. It is not as good as them. It is good for what it is, but it's not awesome either. So 7 out of 10 for me for this Goosebumps book, The Werewolf in the Living Room. 7 out of 10. What about you folks? What did you think about The Werewolf in the Living Room? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Let me know in the comment section down below. And I would really like to hear about your thoughts and views on it. And thank you so much for 205 subscribers now. The subscribers count number keeps on, increasing. And I'd like to thank you all for this. And I was rewatching some of my older reviews, and I'm not entirely, crazy about them, especially on the way I used to, express myself back then. Sometimes it was a little bit, clumsy, a little weak. But I think I improved over the years. So I was also younger back then. So you can probably tell that I was trying sometimes to make, you know, sound a specific way. But now as I go on, I think it's better. It's more like, you know, more detailed, more sophisticated. Anyhow, thank you for sticking out and sticking around. And God willing, I'll see you on the next review for other Goosebumps books. And also, I'm very happy that I get to review other things as well, such as horror movies and television shows, so that this channel is basically not restricted to Goosebumps. Yeah, I could have made it restricted to Goosebumps, but I wanted to include more things, and I didn't really know back then, so I started including other reviews from other TV shows and stuff. But yeah, if you would like me to, yeah, I would probably, God willing, be reviewing other Goosebumps books on this channel. Of course, I will, God willing, and I want to finish the series 2000 and enjoy it. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. This is Goosebumps Homeboy 92 for you signing off.